CES.
Hey guys. And do not let the beautiful sunshine behind us cloud you with the idea that it's 38 degrees and friggin' freezing here.
At least it's sunny.
Yeah, baby. Happy New Year. Going IoT Coffee Talk. This is the special CES 2024 episode, right? And Steve Bummer and I are here live amongst the IoT Coffee Talk crew.
That's right. We're the only idiots that can't freeze it.
Yeah.
Oh my!
To suffer the crowds, cold weather, extraordinarily expensive coffee, and 70%. What do you call it? 17% hotel tax, and
the daily
$70 daily resort fees.
Yeah.
Yes,
just to get your little bottles of water.
That is crazy.
Which ends up being like a 40% tax on wherever you're staying. Yeah.
How's the crowd down there? Is it? You mentioned. Is it pretty packed or?
Oh, yesterday was packed. Yesterday was the floor was jammed, and it was interesting. It still flocks to a lot of the electronics, like the central hall yesterday for LG, and all the TV guys and all the entertainment guys. Man, there were massive amounts of people down there. So yesterday,
everybody wants to see the latest.
Yeah,
clear. They have the clear.
Yes.
Transparent.
The transparent one. That was
micro LED.
Every year they roll out some kind of crazy TV that they never ship. It's either like the rolling TV or the clear TV or whatever.
And that was pretty amazing. A 100-inch. It was as thin as the back. As thin as this. You kind of roll it and you slap it. It's like
roll it and slap it.
Yeah, and it's all flex technology. It's unbelievable. Just the thought of how much flex technology is in there. Not the company, but the flex tech. It's just I wanted to be able to get up to it. They wouldn't let you get close to it to see what the backing of that was looking like.
Wow. Yeah, but it's not real until it shows up in my local Costco. So
yeah.
Ooh, good.
Yeah,
that's a good marketing piece. I like that's a really good idea. Yeah, it ain't real till Costco has it.
Costco.
There's a lot of people here. I mean, it's almost back to its
how did it
peak form. Did you find a number in 30,000?
That's what 100. I heard 135.
90.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so they broke 100K. That's fantastic. Yeah, good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if last night the exodus out of here was any indication, it was freaking chaotic.
I can imagine the cab lines and the Uber lines.
Uber lines.
Yeah, were you able to get good hotels nearby, or are you long way away, or? Yeah.
I'm over at the Mirage.
Okay.
And, I decided I'll take that 40%, like ridiculous Las Vegas, out of state tax to reside here temporarily, just so that I can walk right across to the Venetian, and it's actually kind of worth it because, this stuff is so spread out.
Yeah.
The transportation,
it's just.
I took the monorail last time I was there. That wasn't super helpful.
It's just in between stops, though. It's so hard to get to that monorail, but from where you are. Sometimes I'm at the Marriott over on Harmon, and I got to walk to MGM to get to the station. So I just hired a car service for the whole week.
Oh. This supposed to be
$100 a day. I don't have to pay Uber, and they pick me up wherever I tell them to pick me up, and we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be a Formula One racetrack now, so you should be able to go fast between hotels.
Yeah, right.
They tear it down. Oh, too bad.
Get Elon to dig some more holes. That'd be even better.
Yeah. Well, they disassembled a lot of the grandstands and framing, and like the freaking whatever the hell you call it around the city that just made everything look terrible. But I don't think they're done yet. But I mean, think about it. It takes them I think about 2 months. In about a month.
We came out from World Congress. They were working on it, and then the show before that, the Channel Partner show. There was
the beginning of December when I was here for AWS and they were tearing down, and so they're still working on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But hey, so what are you guys saying? So what's kind of surfacing to the top for you guys as you're observing from afar?
Well, one thing I saw was I noticed that it's a lot less of an automotive show this year.
That's good. Yeah.
Because General Motors isn't there, Stellantis isn't there. I mean, it used to be that was the hot area, was the car area, that hall. And so it's interesting to see that. Mary Barra was actually the keynote there a couple of years ago, and now from the COGM, and now it's really shifted or de-invested in the automotive thing.
But there's a lot of, but I did see, even in the North Hall, some really weird company named electric cars and trucks.
Sure.
Some of these one-off guys that are building the world's best electric delivery truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Weird equals Chinese.
I didn't say that. No, actually, one of them, some of them were, two of the trucks were Honda.
Really? Okay.
I did see you could drive a Honda with a PS5 controller. So
that's the
Sony and Honda.
Well, you can drive submarines with them. You know that, Rob. As well.
The Virginia class.
Also, Honda had an EV that had a LED display in the bumper, and you could put messages on there or whatever. I thought it would be good for doing as a side hustle, so you could sell ads. As you're driving around.
I just wanted to say, get the hell out of my way.
Well, I was going to say, it probably would be used for road rage more than anything else.
Yeah, I know.
I could definitely use that to vent my frustration, especially with California drivers.
Oh yeah, you got
it would not be pretty.
You could sort of pre-program the buttons on your dashboard.
Exactly.
Different messages.
And I want the controller for that.
So I saw that. That was interesting. But automotive seemed to be a lot less. I don't know if you saw the Rabbit R1 device down there. That seems to be a hot item. It's like a handheld device that you talk into and has a camera, and it does all kinds of AI tasks for you. And he was on stage. It's big news today. You should look it up. I don't know if you could see it in person. It's called the Rabbit R1.
Rabbit R1.
Yeah, and you can train it to do all kinds of smartphone type tasks, and it'll run apps for you and do run. You can say run Spotify and play this and do that, and so it's kind of interesting that there's no screen per se. So it's this kind of a weird UI, but it's like an AI audio visual device.
It's
what was that Rabbit that was one of the first IoT connected devices that had that ears that were moving?
Yeah, the Navastag. I still have one.
Navastag, yes, but indeed,
And actually, some of the French guy repurposed it, so you can buy a new board, and it actually connects. You have still weather services and kind of stuff. And I also have a new Minitel emulator, and the two can talk to each other. So I'm back 20 years. 25 years ago, it was the beginning of IoT. It's a funny thing.
Yeah. Actually, you could connect that with the newspaper news, and then say, if there is a news from, I don't know, your favorite team and it wins, just move the ears like this, or put the ears on that color. And
I see.
For a 20-year-old device, so that was...
wow,
the description remind me that.
I think you just kind of laid bare right there, Marc, why IoT has been such a disaster. That personifies what it started it and where it ended. It's just some rabbit ears that go crazy. Wow, I was wondering why everybody's not a trillionaire already. Well, it's just some stupid rabbit, if this then that thing. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, the only difference, Rob, is that this new rabbit is probably collecting a ton of data about itself that will be restored and used.
They're going to have food and stuff. It is it is less of a car show, but it's more of a SDV or software defined vehicle show.
That's true.
And I think the way to interpret this is that a lot of the incumbent brands or the legacy brands are not here, right? Like you said, that GM, Ford, others are not here. But you do have a lot of Chinese brands, South Korean brands, and now there's a company called VinFast out of Vietnam.
Right.
They're here. It's weird. I had some conversations with several semiconductor companies executives about this, and the adoption is happening with the new unencumbered emerging car manufacturers that are focused on EVs, and the Japanese guys aren't here either, right? I mean, Toyota's not here.
Toyota. Right.
Nissan's not here. Honda's here, but they're into robotics and all this other stuff, so they make a presence.
Right.
But Hyundai, I think the South Koreans are making they're basically taking the role of the Japanese automakers.
Right.
In like 2017, it was all about the Japanese automakers. Toyota made a huge splash. I think they really pioneered this whole, I guess, invasion of automotive at CES. But now, I mean, like they have like Hyundai Heavy Industries here with like a friggin' gigantic robotic autonomous excavator.
Yeah, I thought.
It's like, what's this doing here?
It's the same thing. Like last year we had John Deere had that monster ass
tractor.
That was the thing that Rob. Almost like the singular thing that Rob talked about last year.
Well, remember they did the keynote last year.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. And this year, I think it's Siemens talking about industrial metaverse.
Yeah.
Which we told the industry not to talk about.
I thought we already killed. I thought we already killed the industrial metaverse.
Not yet.
But it's
still zombie. They're trying to.
I saw an article today about BYD. Speaking of car manufacturers, BYD, which is now overtaking Tesla. They sold last year in China more EVs than all the U.S. market combined. Just BYD. Yeah. They started as a battery company not too long ago. They were a battery company, and basically that was their thing. They were really innovative in the battery. So it's almost like the car has become the vehicle, no pun intended, for the tech. So it's like I have a nice, battery platform with tech. wrap it. They actually bought a car company, like a failing car company, and then they got into the car business through them. So BYD is number one.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see, like they'll be the next Hyundai and Kia in the U.S. So these companies that are not encumbered, like the big three, with their legacy issues, I think are going to move really fast and have some pretty amazing platforms.
Yeah. Hey, like 2000, I think it was like 2016, 17 when I was in China. I was in Shenzhen. They had BYD electric vehicles all over the place
and charging stuff.
And of all the car companies in the world, I think they're the only ones that have actually survived and made waves or had kind of developed significant presence by working from the bottom up, right? Because now when you look at their cars, they're all like premium level, but somehow with the battery, they kind of entered in with the battery and then moved their way up, and that's kind of rare, right? Because Tesla went from the top down and really supercharged, no pun intended, the EV movement, right? So,
it depends on the market too. Like in the U.S., I think only economy cars are only about 2% of the market in the U.S. It's all trucks and SUVs and stuff. So it'll be interesting for any of these brands to break into the U.S. They'll have to do a Rivian or something.
Well, they have it. Yeah, XPeng.
And
they have like a friggin' Cybertruck knockoff,
right?
With a friggin' drone, like a flying pod that you load.
What are they doing? Are they selling a lot of cars or not yet? Or they are still not producing? Rivian.
Rivian? About 15,000 a quarter. Not much.
Yeah. Losing a lot of money. Per unit.
Yeah,
I think on the order of 30,000. I think.
There's that other news source, X, and where I've read two news deals about Rivians. One was maybe one of us like a Microsoft list where I was talking about how he had his just back windshield, on his Rivian truck blew out, and he went to get it fixed, and originally Safelite said, "Oh yeah, we'll do it for $49. It's no big deal." And then they realized they couldn't do it, and they said, "You're going to have the manufacturer do it." I think Rivian said it was going to be like over $4,000 to replace the back glass. Then the very next day, there was another news deal where a guy needed to have his grill or something replaced on this Rivian, and it was like $49,000. And so the takeaway was, this is a ridiculous car. There was like all these stories about what a disaster it is, because it might be expensive to buy, but it's terribly expensive to own, I guess, if anything goes wrong.
Well, that is part of the story, is the ownership. I mean, those sound a little. I wouldn't be surprised if those were Tesla-sourced articles.
Probably. Now, also,
Tesla's expensive too.
But to give some love to somebody else, Toyota, someone else, I don't know, a bunch of VCs on X the other day, someone posted, and it started this giant thread. If it was Armageddon, end of the world, what's the one vehicle you would have to survive in this post-apocalyptic world that's going to last the longest? It wasn't even close. Toyota actually, Land Cruiser was number one by far. By far.
Really?
Not even close. And then the second place was Toyota 4Runner, as a car that just keeps going no matter what.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you look at like Latin America and stuff, everyone buys. That's the premium car to get in anything in Latin America is Toyota 4Runner.
And not to stir the pot, but then some people were going, dude, look who ISIS uses and all those militants in the Middle East. They're all driving Toyota pickup trucks.
There you go.
Yeah, they're good machine gun platforms.
Well, I think those Toyota vehicles are kind of like the AK-47 cars.
We may not be. It might not be.
Well, no. But look. I mean, we're stating the obvious. I mean, So if people have trouble with it, they should call all the media outlets and tell them to blur out the brands of all the cars that are used in those videos, right? Like those. Yeah. I mean, come on. We're just stating the very obvious.
We're stating the obvious.
It feels like the EV, the whole software-defined vehicle thing is not just a transformation from combustion engine to electric. It's a transformation from unknown brands, non-car brands.
It is.
And the support brands. Yeah, one of the things I asked one of the guys that, I think it's the name of the company was Constellation. They had the two wannabe Hummer trucks that are electric. And I said, so how many dealerships do you have in the United States? How do you support these things? If I need a battery replacement, where do I go? Exactly. No answer.
Go to the online portal. You have to go to the online portal. That's what this week.
Yeah. They're almost like those the Android smartphone brands, numbered in the tens of thousands. It's like
long tail.
There wasn't enough scale. They could really get long-term support. These things are basically burner phones, right? You just throw them away after a year, then get the next one. But you can't do that with automobiles.
An Android phone company called Longtail.
There you go.
But we'll put
on the other end,
we'll put a tile interface on the Android phone.
Yeah, there you go.
On the other end,
we heard Microsoft. We heard Microsoft is coming back. Dimitri's,
Dimitri?
On the other end, if they can get us out of the dealership model, that would be a great progress, because who likes dealerships? I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, dealerships get a self-inflicted bad rep, but and which is Tesla. It's one of the reasons why you can't buy a Tesla in Michigan. I think is because it's a law that you have to buy a car through a dealer.
Yeah,
and
Dimitri, you are
leave it to Michigan to have a law like that, but that's
that weird feeling you have when you drive onto a dealership lot and vultures come out of the deal out into the parking lot walking towards you.
I have a story on that.
They're just doing their job. Come on.
We were
vultures.
Like first sales guys.
That are selling door to door.
We were shopping for a car for my wife a couple of years ago, and we took my daughter. So we went to a bunch of dealership, and she would say, "Wow, those guys! They look like in this Italian mafioso movie, guys. With the sun, especially in California, with the black sunglasses. The guys stand and look like he's just out of making a crime." So
unfortunately, everyone has their dealership stories.
Come on, guys, be nice. They're just working for commission.
No, that could be nice.
That's the problem.
We went to buy a car.
Exactly the problem.
we went to buy a car when we were doing potty training for Carla. So the dealer, the sellers didn't want to stay a lot of time with us. So
Get them out of here.
exactly. Please go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what else are you seeing there?
But one question about electric cars: do you think we will have a 600 miles battery soon, or this is
solid state
in the short term?
Solid state battery is probably where it's at.
I don't know about the battery. I think the car. It's not about the battery. It's more about the car.
Okay, the autonomy.
It's like the design factor, right? So.
Well, it's also there's currently used the lithium ion polymer battery, which is liquid. And now I know Toyota, speaking of Toyota, they have been pioneering this solid state battery tech, which is a significant leapfrog in capacity. And I think it's more of like a 26, 27 thing, but I think in the next, few years, you'll see a pretty big leap in density and capacity in some of these batteries. So you'll be able to get 600 miles plus with, probably even a smaller battery than today using the solid state as opposed to the liquid polymer
And to your point,
it takes a long time.
Yeah, to your point, Pete, I think you made a great comment on saying that you can see those kind of battery companies going into the car manufacturer space because it's still the critical component. So
it is.
If you're a believer of the crossing the chasm Jeffrey Moore thing, if you're a battery company right now, you probably want to use the car industry as your kind of crossing the chasm use case. And on that note, this morning I wanted to prepare and look a little bit about CES, but I started running Business Insider, and I see this headline: AI discovered a new material for batteries. So,
what?
Yeah. So, and actually, when you read the article, it's a bunch of researchers that use AI to narrow it down to new material. So actually, I wrote to the journalist saying, hey, we are in a world of generative AI, so words and language matter. Don't put an headline that is stupid because the AI didn't woke up and said, oh, I'm going to create a new material for batteries. But some people use the AI as a tool. So again, closing back to your point, Pete, there is a lot of innovation expected in the battery space.
The battery takes a long time, though.
Yeah, they do. Because the other issue that, and I don't know what is the latest research on that, maybe you guys know, but because my wife has a small electric car, so it's supposed to do 230 miles. The way I drive it, I barely do 120. Okay, and also it's when it's warm. So the environmental, the context factor on how aggressive you drive and what is the temperature and when it's cold seems to still have an enormous impact on the autonomy.
Yeah, cold weather. If it's 38 degrees in Vegas, I think you're not going to get your mileage.
Yeah, it's not going to be viable everywhere. It's just not. I think that's there's a lot of acknowledgement here, and so what you are saying is you're seeing a lot of companies that are bringing alternative, solutions like hydrogen, silicon carbide. These, I think hydrogen is really the big one, right now. Everyone's talking about, which is weird. But then when you go and you look at, you watch presentations, you have guys like Hyundai who have all this like industrial heft, probably having to use a lot of that to make these new models of energy work for the auto industry, and
I just don't see.
Hyundai actually kind of have that, and because they don't just make cars, they also have all this industrial tech that they're starting to showcase here. Not only on a sustainability front, but that sustainability topic has become very, very broad, and I think that's what's really bringing in a lot of the industrial stuff. And then I still really don't get the like earth movers, and that's like what
just eye candy. It's just eye candy, probably just like it's a good marketing thing to be like, oh, it's a giant machine here. Everyone loves giant machines,
exactly.
And
Publicity stunt.
Really. It's a massive site. I can tell you that when you turn around and you look and you go, holy
yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool.
How did you get it in here?
Exactly.
Yeah, right,
The
exactly,
Earth Mover last year. That was the thing. I was like, man, how did you even drive it down the
Street.
strip? Right?
Yeah.
How'd you get it in here?
Yeah, right next to the F1 car.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
well, I do want to say something to the IoT Coffee Talk world out there. If there is something that you see online and you're not here and you want us to go check it out, just send Leonard or I a text message or an email, and we'll go look at it.
Sure.
Like I have time on not a lot of time, but if there's something that's really earth moving that people want to see,
no pun intended.
Yeah.
A lot of unintended puns.
Yeah, I know. Today's
lot of puns.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And
I think the rabbit one's pretty cool. Then, of course, you got to tell us all about all the amazing new AI PCs that have been announced because,
oh, God.
Talk about earth moving.
I missed that ball.
Yeah. So the big Sasquatch of this event is the AI PC because everyone's wondering what it is and where it is. Well, I mean, it's there, but
we don't know where it is.
Yeah, the purpose is elusive and
the Sasquatch.
it's
I like
kind of
that
like a
analogy,
Bigfoot
Is it
type of thing. Yeah.
lost in the metaverse? Or?
But it's weird. So with all the generative AI talk, this conference has so far been very AI light.
Yeah. There's a lot of in the marketing and on the booth signage and things like that where AI is mentioned. But when you go under the covers, they don't even just know what they're talking about.
It's like, and I told this one company because they said, do XYZ with generative AI. I told them, hey, look, it's okay to, you don't need AI to do really, really cool stuff. And I'm here listening to your run through of your demo, impressed, but completely distracted and disappointed by that statement that this is generative AI XYZ. It has almost an insignificant function in what your application does, and so there's just so much of that. And that should bother the hell out of a lot of people who are going around saying this is going to transform the world. I mean, it does some cool little things, but I mean, I went to a particular semiconductor company's booth and checked out the Copilot, and I showed how this thing hallucinates like crazy right in front of the.
What did they say?
They just had a look on their face, and then I left.
Then you left.
I was like, yeah, this is why that button is probably going to disappear. I mean,
did you leave by telling them goodbye, humans?
Huh?
Goodbye, humans.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I always say when
you know what, Dimitri? I'll tell you something right now. For us, your voice frequency is like at a perfect, I don't know what they call it. Yeah, where we can't hear you. It's weird.
That's weird.
I think you got a lot of low end. I think on your voice.
Yeah, you have a lot of low end, dude.
He's low.
What was it? What was his statement?
DJ.
What did he say?
Did you leave? And
Really? What's happening?
did you leave by saying goodbye, humans?
Yeah.
Goodbye, humans.
Humans.
Because you were talking about
Humans. Goodbye.
Oh,
humans.
Goodbye, humans. Yeah. No, I just walked. I dropped the mic and I left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of AI washing going on, and it's eventually it'll hopefully justifiably kick back because there is a lot of real innovation going on, and unfortunately, when people start slapping AI and everything, then the folks that are really innovating kind of get ripped off a little bit. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think a lot of benefit is going to happen in the AI space just from the compute side. And, where did I mention it? I mentioned it at the beginning of the year. I think it was like on our episode for Semicon West. You're going to see all this really amazing compute power then become more power efficient. And then that's going to improve the economics for all the stuff that we're trying to do in the IoT world by making this fuzzy logic a hell of a lot cheaper to run and more potent and powerful.
Right.
That's the generative AI stuff is not important, because at the edge, really, it's really the classical stuff that has the most impact, can get as close to deterministic, and you just don't need something hallucinating like crazy at the edge, throwing up.
I would agree on that. I mean, I think that actually generative AI can be really helpful in training edge AI, doing like synthetic training of edge AI using generative AI. I think that's an interesting connection that'll be made by companies this year. But also, I mean, the thing about Gen AI that is, I think, legitimate is, and I listened yesterday to, I don't know if you ever listened to Scott Galloway, Professor G. He had Mustafa Solomon on and for a 1 hour discussion. I don't know if you read the book, The Coming Wave.
Yeah.
Solomon is like the founder of DeepMind, and he wrote this book. I won't give you the ending of the book, but it's not a happy book. But it's an interesting book on the coming wave of AI. They did a 1 hour yesterday, and I encourage folks to try to find that online. But the Gen AI thing is really going to be a super disruptor for a lot of the work and a lot of the, unclear employment impact on a lot of jobs. And so I think on that side of it, Gen AI has the ability to do a lot of interesting creation and artwork and things to help people do things as supercharge their current jobs, but also there's a lot of kind of unknown impact to a lot of roles. And you can imagine, there's a lot of jobs out there, unglamorous jobs that could be severely impacted by it for the long term. But I'd love to see more of a connection between Gen AI and Edge AI in terms of like synthetic training, and how do you enable like really well-trained edge, things by using generative AI to sort of simulate what they should be looking for. I think that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I think you see a lot of work happening right now, and some benefits being seen with like recommender models, right? So they're using, this is like way back, just maybe like 6 months ago, a lot of retailers like Walmart using
You mean 6 years ago?
AI models. 6 months ago.
6 years ago.
6 years ago?
No, you said 6 months ago. It's 6 years ago. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Recommender. Yeah. Amazon, hey, you bought this. Would you like to buy this again?
Sure.
That's even much older, but using generative AI models to enhance or what contextualize the
oh my God,
some of the model
kind of analyst, dude.
model weightings and stuff like that. And it improves things like 16%, right? It's not like 120 getting things down to like anything beyond like 2 or 3 nines. It's still in the range of it's
the thing about like for like checkout and stuff, like training the edge AI models and the quick checkout to recognize this, that, and the other thing. You can use Gen AI to synthetically train a lot of these AI vision models to like recognize fruits and vegetables and other things. And like, so I think you're going to get a higher quality edge AI by using generative AI.
Right.
For training,
even those are typically hybrid AI applications, even for simulation or generation synthetic stuff. And that also use a lot of classical AI. And so when you get under the covers, generative AI has this thin function. It's important. It's an improvement. But when you take out the improvements that it introduces up to a system level, it gets a bit diluted. So, the hypothesis that this thing is going to drive revolution, right? Change the world. It's actually, I think people are going to discover that it's not the case, there's
always
I'll tell you right now, people are already starting to realize it. They just don't talk about it at this, hype level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. But we tend to overhype tech in the short run and underestimate it in the long run, right? So we always do that. Something comes along like the metaverse.
IoT Coffee Talk, dude. We don't do that on
IoT Coffee. Of course, not here, but other places.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you have to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, but at some particular point, I'd love to have a deeper discussion around the economics for the business world. We keep on talking about it's going to cut jobs and cut people and use less, but where's the economy for this? I mean, is there a sales and marketing economy for this? Is there what are we going to do to re-employ these people if we're going to take them out? I mean, I just look at the where are we going with the negative? The negative is easy.
No, that is a challenge. Yeah, what happens, and and any new technology, just like when they started automating looms back in the 1800s, people lost their jobs, but new jobs were created, and so. Right. It's not always obvious what those new jobs are. It's not, that's TBD, I guess.
It's babysitting AI models.
Prompt engineer. I think prompt engineer is the number one career choice now for influencer and prompt engineer. And then Google search engineer, I think, is the other one.
Oh my God. It's a brave new world. And, but we've had this discussion. Obviously, you read about this stuff all the time. There's always new tech that displaces jobs and new jobs are created. But the worry here, though, is the AI is such a big leap that it's going to displace more jobs faster than ever before. And we won't be able to keep up like we've had in the past, or it was always, 2 steps forward, 1 step back when we disrupt things with technology. And the Gen AI could be the prompt engineer for another Gen AI thing.
Oh, God.
You know what, though? I do like the edge AI stuff. I have to tell you, behind the scenes, last few months, I've been studying and teaching myself, and I've been training models here at home. So, not to give any undue props to Microsoft, but Microsoft's always been the company that made hard things easy over time for idiots like me. And so I've been learning ML.NET because I've done .NET and C# forever. And they've actually created a great framework, this ML.NET, and integration into Visual Studio and Visual Tools, and this thing called AutoML, and it will cycle through and look at different algorithms to find the best one for your data set. And so I've been actually doing it. And it's great because I remember back when I was at Hitachi doing Lumada, and we had lots of PhD, data scientists working on machine learning stuff. What's been the biggest industrial IoT thing? It's been predictive maintenance, right? When's that machine going to fail has always been the holy grail, and so it was just really hard, and you had to know a lot of stuff to do it. And so what I find amazing is something like this higher level tool like ML.NET, where a lot of that hard stuff is now abstracted away and it's happening under the covers. And it's just like you provide the big data set, and you still have to have good data, clean data, quality data, right? But it'll train it, it'll analyze it, it'll find the best algorithm because it easily integrates with TensorFlow and a lot of other great libraries. And then it'll let you validate it and evaluate it, and then you put it in production. And it says, here's the boilerplate code to use for your app to do inference against that model. And so anyway, that's been kind of fun. And it also gives me hope for Edge AI. And I don't mean Edge AI like, tiny ML Edge AI. I mean Edge AI like kind of smaller box server or rugged PC at the edge, like you might see in a factory or in a data center or whatever. It's real.
I think we're getting much more low code, no code type things out there, more model zoos, and then I think Gen AI is going to help. I think Gen AI is going to help with that because you'll be able to simulate all the training data or a lot of the training data as well, or refine it, and really kind of hyper train some of these models to be a lot more accurate. And like Rob was saying, it'll be, low code, no code type stuff where you don't need to be an AI PhD to implement Edge AI in a lot of your solutions. It'll be sort of de facto.
But a lot of that stuff is a lot bigger than Gen AI. And when you look at what Google has done with, I forgot what the project is called, but Qualcomm uses it for model optimization. That stuff has been around for quite some time, so it's not a credit to Gen AI in any way.
Right.
It's how that AI and ML development frameworks and tools have evolved and become more, let's say, mature,
Capable,
right?
mature.
And to Rob's point, much easier and accessible for folks at his level, which I don't think is a dummy level by any stretch of the imagination, but it makes it a hell of a lot more accessible, right?
Sure.
And then allows the applications to be developed quickly in a more optimal way. You get to optimization a lot faster.
Right.
You're not wasting your time looking for which model actually is the best for the thing that I'm trying to do.
Well, it's all predicated on great edge AI silicon that's now a lot more capable and powerful and has NPUs built in, and which we didn't have 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's so true. You think about the scenario, like a scenario I'm in right now. I have leadership of my little startup saying we got to have AI, and we want to do it, and I totally want to do it. And I know other AI companies and AI startups, and they have like 20 scientists doing crazy stuff all the time. And how can little old me by myself deliver that? Well, there's no way I could, but with this ML.NET technology, little old me who's not a PhD is going to be able to do it. And so I think that's the big aha moment.
Yeah, props to the PhDs though, because all these abstractions, if it wasn't for them,
they made it work.
Most of us don't even know what the hell's happening under a hood, right?
Oh, I have no idea what's happening.
If it's not, wasn't for them,
magic things are happening. Little hamsters are running.
It happens.
But
I love how he describes himself as little old me.
I know.
Yeah, he's never programmed a damn thing in his life.
These guys,
As well, this is what I'm worried that Pete was mentioning, that if you train a machine learning model with generative AI, how can you trust that machine learning model?
True. I mean, that's part of the validation. So there always needs to be validation, at the end. And transparency, be able to audit it, actually track it, trace it. Yeah, but, it should be able to accelerate it, though.
You're supposed to work with SMEs who actually know the answers to the question. The whole point of training a model is you're training it with stuff you already know the answer to, that for real know the answer. And so to your point, Marc, if generative AI gives that answer in advance, it might be bullshit, right? And how do you trust it? And so I train the model with all these features of things that I know are true when the machine failed because it vibrated this way or it got this hot. But
how do you know these are true if it's generated by a neural network?
Well, for example, like generative AI, you could say, if I'm, AI vision to recognize a head of broccoli, I could take an actual picture of broccoli. I could gen AI off of that 100,000 variants of the way the broccoli looks at different angles and shapes, which you can't just do that, manually, right? So you need gen AI could help accelerate a lot more training of some of these things, but not everything.
Yeah. Because you're right, everybody's going to get the hard way.
Simple things, I agree. Yeah,
it's like selling insurance. It is.
You know what? By the moment I understood that Rob was saying. Sorry, by a moment I understood that Rob was saying you have to work with Agent Smith.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me a little better?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that the interesting point here is because the danger of using generative AI to generate kind of data set is you're using derivatives. So the analogy is like the financial products. Okay, you started as much as you derivate from one level to the next level, you start losing track of what really is, and you get into extremely dangerous thing. So that's the thing that worries me. So I can understand the broccoli idea because it's probably a simple use case. Because you can say, okay, give me tens of thousands of views of a broccoli from the top, from the bottom, from different sides. But if you start getting to more sophisticated data set, because the generative AI was first trained by data sets that you don't necessarily know if they are good or bad. So you're starting adding layers of derivative with uncertainty, which are freaking scary. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the things evolve. I wanted to make another comment on what you said earlier, Rob, because I've actually seen a data science or AI platform that allows you to train models for quite a few years right now. And to your point, those data scientists, 85% of their job is cleaning the data.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
So,
not
yeah.
coming up with algorithm. This is, you have to demystify that thing. It's writing some freaking SQL to clean the freaking shitty data. That's what they do 85% of their jobs.
It's a good point.
Cleaning and labeling.
Yeah.
Cleaning and labeling.
You're so right. You were so
Well,
right.
yeah, and that's where we see Gen AI models really being somewhat useful is in automating the labeling process, helping to generate embeddings on like media. Like, one of the companies that I talked to, they have this Gen AI application that will allow you to take footage and then have the application, create the embeddings and then dump all that stuff into a vector database. And then the Gen AI, the real key part of the Gen AI stuff is it can reach into that vector database and then based on your prompt, surface up the footage that best matches, what you prompted it for. Those are kind of cool stuff. But then again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not changing the world. It's enabling a certain process and improving it at a certain percentage. But hey, you know what? Is Bill still on?
Yeah.
He's right there.
Dude, why are you so quiet, man? You gotta say something.
I'm just, you know what? It's the beginning of the year and I'm like, I am already exhausted with the whole Gen AI thing, man. It's like, I'm like, really? This is one of those things, we've talked about this before. We pick a technology and it's a piece.
These guys go to IoT Pavilion.
It's a piece. Gen AI is a piece of the puzzle. And so Pete, to your point, the transparency, the proof, and all of that stuff. All right, so NIST has a task force right now, and they're taking feedback on an executive order that is looking to carry out, an understanding of to provide guidelines for evaluating differential privacy guarantees. Right. And so I think for me, at least, the way that I look at it is like, when you see an end solution, I don't think that you'll really care about what the fuck Gen AI is doing. I really don't think that you'll care.
As long as you could buy your broccoli at Walmart, then you're good, right? Who cares?
That's it.
Yeah, and Bill, that's exactly what you're starting to see here. It's like with all the talk, what bubbles up to the surface is actually almost negligible. It's just going to be that incremental uplift or enhancement to certain things that we already do. Even from a friggin' conversational AI perspective, yeah, it makes it a little bit more conversational. You can you have a little bit more functionality, but you still have all the problems with like inaccurate NLP, and then the prompt actually not being registered with the Gen AI model in a proper way, and then you get crap results back. So there's like all this probabilistic issues
like
that kind of stack on top of each other. Yeah, and then ultimately we're going to still have that same Siri problem, where we're getting pissed off at the Gen AI application.
Everything's just going to keep getting shittier and shittier just over time.
Yeah. Because there are very few pure play Gen AI applications at the end of the day. They're either like some weird RAG thing or a hybrid AI application that uses all kinds of other classical techniques that have their own probabilistic issues, right? And so yeah, dude, you're absolutely, you can see it here, Bill. I wish you were here. And we can laugh about
I'm
it
here.
together.
I just transported myself to Las Vegas.
But that is exactly my point, is that, when you really get down to solutions, all right, so, we went through this whole thing when digital twin was the buzzword.
Yeah.
Now, digital twin is still around and everything, but any true digital twin is going to have machine learning. It's going to have an element of AI and all of those things. But do people care? No. You're using it to derive a specific outcome.
Yeah, but I give you a reason why people should care. Because the difference is that it's a fundamentally different approach, because there's a black box element. When something goes wrong with traditional code, you open the code, you look at it, you can introspect and say, oh, this is why it did that, and this is why it screwed up. With this tech, you cannot do that, because there's a black box aspect. So for this reason, I'm not saying that you're wrong. At the end of the day, people only care about the outcome, but the way you get into the outcome is different nowadays. Before it was very deterministic with all the bugs. Now it's magic, and that should be of concern, I believe.
I mean, but I don't know that if I'm providing a service, so my company creates a solution and I'm providing a service. At the end of the day, I don't want my customers to even flip and care. I want to know that there's a problem well ahead of them figuring out that there's a problem.
Sure.
No, I agree. But when the plane crash, somebody's going to look at who's responsible. And it's going to be difficult to explain with those black box systems that made a decision at some point.
They can't explain plane crashing today.
No, I disagree with that.
No,
I disagree with that.
They pulled the black box.
The door fell off. I mean, obviously the bolts were loose.
It's that age-old thing. If the black box survives, why don't you build the damn plane out of the black box?
That's a very good example. Take the Max problem. They find the black box and they figure out why it screwed up, because the TCAS system, which was very predictive programming, was not disclosed, and they could find the exact root causes. Imagine it was an AI system that made the decision what to do with the plane. What would be talking about? It would be much more different. So, but again, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying by nature, we should think differently about how we get the outcome.
Right. It does make it more obtuse. By the way, just on a related note, I don't know if you can see this down there, Leonard, but Sony in their keynote talked about a digital birth certificate for photos, where their cameras will use some kind of NFT blockchain-y thing to embed like a digital birth certificate in the photo that's taken, so that you can authenticate the picture, sort of as it propagates throughout whatever. Which is a pretty cool concept, but it's an interesting concept. But unfortunately, it's a Sony only. It's only with their pro cameras.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a company called Bandwagon that's been doing that for the past 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and their customer base is sports. Athletes and stars and stuff like that, so that they don't get these pictures taken of them and then floating around and people making money on them. They're like, that is mine. And
but you
need to get more proliferated.
Sony's going to have to explain to me how you cannot remove the stuff. Because to me, this is the DVD syndrome. Okay. When you put a DVD in your player and you get the FBI warning thing, who is seeing the FBI warning thing? Only the people that buy it legally. Because all the others, this is the first thing that is removed. So you have to find the technology to make sure that it's not removed.
I know.
Yeah. So
it's nice to see, though, at least there's some investment in transparency of content. So.
No, I don't disagree. It's great, but it's just this is a hard problem to tackle. It's really the data problem.
It's very difficult.
How do you make
traceability, auditability,
and immutability? How do you solve those problems?
Immutability, yeah.
And blockchain.
You know how you solve the problem? It all has to do with governance and where and how you instill trust in things. And I think at some point we're going to be going back to traditional film. And the only way that you can submit anything in court as proof is if you have one of those old school cameras and you can present to them the original film.
Can I take my old school camera and take a picture of my smartphone, and isn't that just as good?
No, seriously. At some point, there's certain things where we're going to go Battlestar Galactica. We will, because the threat to the trust for a certain institution or a thing, it will be so dire that we have to fall back on reality. We can't trust the digital representation of anything, even stuff that we snap on our cameras.
Rob isn't sitting with Brad Pitt and George Clooney right now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm in Vegas right now with you guys, So
Leonard, you're a visionary because you just invented the analog twin that backs up the digital twin.
Ah, the analog twin, yes.
No, but think about what I just said. Think about it. It's exactly what you're saying. You're going to have an analog twin somewhere that, hey, I am the source of that. And whatever digital twins exist of this, you can trace them back to me because I own the analog twin. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Non-fungible.
And Christopher
twin.
Nolan keeps making all his movies in actual film. So I don't know where the tie-in there is, but I made it.
There you
And
go.
I'm excited though that at 9:24 today, Leonard found a way to bring us all the way back to Battlestar Galactica again.
There you go.
You know, he found a way. In fact, I think it's important that every meeting we have, he's got to find some nugget, some way to pull us back to his little Battlestar Galactica thing that he loves.
What do you mean mine?
It's
Come
yours, dude. It's totally yours.
Is it mine?
Dude, listen.
Come on.
What we're seeing of you right now is completely generated. We know you're a Cylon. You know, that thing. So I know it's real.
So we're all going to go back to analog. So I'm so happy I reset my stereo last weekend and I get my turntable back running again. So
Good.
Yes.
Good.
It's all about the turntable.
Exactly. So
I'll tell
Leonard,
you what.
Leonard. Have you seen any of our IoT friends there? Have you gone to Blues Wireless or Igniant or any of those guys? No?
Not yet. I'm like stuck here in the West Hall until later on in the afternoon. So I'm only halfway through my CES adventure here. So yeah, I'll catch up with them later. But maybe we'll talk about them next week in a recap.
I think it's cool. Our good friend Alistair Fulton's working at Blues now. So that's kind of
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. I'll have to drop by and I plan on dropping by anyways, but the IoT part of my agenda has not, I'm not there yet, but
we know you're not there yet when it comes to IoT, so don't worry.
yeah. Thank you.
This is the year. This is the year.
yeah, go get the rabbits and it's a good start.
Yeah, rabbits.
Yes, Rabbit R1.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I got a jam. You guys want to keep talking or?
We can shut it down. Hey,
Yeah, I think we're good.
what's the cool part of CES we like to go to at the back of the Venetian? Where all the startups are?
Eureka Park.
Eureka
I'll be
Park.
there too
Eureka.
later. Yeah.
I always like going there and seeing what these kids are doing. Yeah, that's always fun.
I'm sure it's going to be crazy this year. So I'll let you know. I'll be doing some reports. I'm going to try to get them out next week, and then let's just do a recap next week, and hopefully our IoT Coffee Talk listeners will join in and get a scoop of reality on what's really happening here.
I will have the Nabastag on the back next week.
You what?
The Nabastag, the original rabbit IoT rabbit we talked about earlier. So I have it on the back next week.
Okay, all right.
Is that like Donnie Darko? Never mind.
No, it's
So, who wants to take us out?
All right, I think Bill should take us out.
Yeah.
All right, look, 2024. This is the year, right? All the money gets released. Infrastructure bill is knocking over money. Fiber is going to be everywhere. Everywhere you turn is going to be fiber. So you don't have to worry about it. We're gonna bridge the digital divide. We're going to solve the problems of AI. We're going to solve the problems of immutability, transparency, governance, and provenance. This is the year. It's happening now. Thank you, everybody. And look, hit that like button. Come back and listen to us again. We will give you the truth. Until next week.
All right.
We're analog. You get the truth from us.
Yep.
That's right.
Battlestar Galactica.
Thanks.